please reach out at messagemyhub@gmail.com.
Things that we can relate to each other on. If that conversation goes somewhere with depth, create conversation amongst people who may not have ever had that conversation otherwise. Things that we can relate to each other on. If that conversation goes somewhere with depth, I'm only interesting because the people I know are interesting. And it's time that I share that gift with the world. Is to create conversation amongst people who may not have ever had that conversation.
Well, hello, folks, and welcome back to your favorite place for updates, current events, and conversations that may or may not matter. Our eclectic and intriguing guests remind us that no matter what you do for a living, what matters most is why you do it. I'm your host, Brandon Bourne, and you are tuned in to the most interesting, informative, and funny podcast ever, The Hub. A few quick updates from around the Hub universe before we dive in. First off, thank you. Whether this is your first time listening or you've been riding along with us for a few episodes now, your time matters, and I appreciate you spending a little bit of it here. This show does continue to grow across all platforms, so wherever you listen, subscribe, follow, or share it with someone who appreciates thoughtful conversation mixed with a little bit of a-hole humor. Yes, today's guest is someone whose resume sounds like an action film, and he may be able to crush my larynx with his pinky finger. But his passion is something a bit quieter and far more important, and that contrast is exactly why he's here. But before we bring him in, we've got some things happening around the world and a little bit closer to home. Big picture. Once again, we're staring down the barrel of a government shutdown. This week's self-perpetuating government excuse is ICE and immigration policy, or as I like to call it, we peasants' latest distraction. And regardless of where you land politically, here's the truth. Shutdowns don't hurt politicians, so if you still think they've got your best interests at heart, well, bless your heart, you sweet little believer. Meanwhile, President Trump managed to do what only he can, drop a racist-ass monkey tweet a few months before the midterms. We all know he couldn't care less what people think of him, but it's becoming clear that this dude is willing to tank the entire Republican Party in the process. Love him, hate him, or mute him, people. The man wields power and pettiness like a martial art. Fuck your couch, America. Fuck your couch. and, and on the other hand, we have a very unimpressive Obama impersonator, Hakeem Jeffries. Is it just me, or is he just so punchable? I really hope my guest isn't like his protection detail or something. That'd be super weird. And a little bit closer to home, the Denver Broncos season is officially over. Some progress, some frustration, and once again we're left asking the same question we've been asking for years. Are we building or just surviving? According to Jig, the rebuild is real, but we shall see. On the flip side, the Nuggets are right now. And by now, I mean the window is wide open. Jokic is Jokic, expectations are real, and Denver basketball has become a real threat around the league. When discussing sports, we often talk about leadership, development, and long-term vision, all traits that remind me of someone who I've been wanting to speak with for a while now, Colorado's own Dave Logan. Dear Dave, my name is Brandon Bourne, and I host a little-known podcast called The Hub. The Hub is where I highlight exceptional and talented individuals from all over, but especially here in Colorado. As a standout wide receiver in the NFL turned legendary high school coach in Colorado, you sir fit that mold. You've proven that influence doesn't require a national spotlight, just consistency, standards, and always showing up. Today, my guest and I will discuss mentorship, discipline, and playing the long game of life. Seeing as how your career is a masterclass in all three, it made total sense for me to reach out to you, since we know each other so well and all. So if you're ever up for a conversation about leadership, development, and what really matters after the lights go out and the scoreboards reset, I'd love to host you here on The Hub. Until then, the invitation stands, and we here in Colorado salute you for your commitment to our youth. Be peace, brethren. All right. While Dave and his people definitely do not call me, let's get to today's guest, shall we? Executive protection. Specialized security and risk mitigation services designed to safeguard high-profile individuals such as corporate executives, celebrities, and politicians from physical harm, harassment, and embarrassment. My next guest has spent nearly 2 decades working in one of the most high-stakes professions on the planet, executive protection, safeguarding people of importance across the globe, planning routes, anticipating threats, and operating with precision under pressure. But here's the twist. The thing he's most passionate about doesn't involve security details, firearms, or international travel. It's coaching kids. He's a highly sought after youth baseball league and pitching coach. Someone who pours his knowledge, patience, and discipline into developing young athletes on and off the field. Please welcome to the Hub, Nate Romero.
Hey, how's it going, Brandon? Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you, man. This is one of those. I've never had a referral that actually worked out. So
This is my first podcast, so this is going to be interesting.
Me too.
We're on the same page then. Love it.
Like I was kind of getting at, and I did a couple of goofy little get-ups to this. As far as what we are allowed to discuss, like I don't want to get too dramatic about it, but it sounds like the job and what it entails isn't necessarily off limits. It's more or less actual details and client lists. Is that about right?
Yeah, so, in this industry, you have a lot of NDAs that you got to sign, non-disclosure agreements with clients to not discuss any of their stuff. But like you said, I've been doing this for 20 years, and I can talk about the job and what it consists of. What it takes to be a good agent and things of that sort. So I've worked for some of the most influential people in the world, some of the most wealthiest people in the world, and also a lot of little celebrities that people probably know. And I was also an instructor for 5 years at a bodyguard school. Okay. So, I have plenty of network connections and plenty of experience doing what I do, man.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, as important as I am, I'm not going to make you sign an NDA.
You are more important than me, buddy. Trust me. I'm the guy that's in the background.
Not at all. Not at all. Not at all.
I like to say...
this is just where the jokes begin. Oh my
I like to tell my friends that I'm a high-end babysitter.
Right, and a low end. Apparently, you're like a mid. You just take it to every level. You handle the kids. Who's harder to babysit, the kids or the adults that you're security for?
The adults.
I'm afraid of the answer.
The adults
might be the answer.
Thing about those high-profile clients, man, is they've worked very hard to get where they're at. On a serious note, they expect things to be the way they want and perfect. And as someone that helps mitigate all their threats, security, and their risks. We have to learn as protectors to basically embed ourselves into their ecosystem, so to say. Mm-hmm. We don't want them to change their day to day. We want, to be trusted and have enough information that we can be involved in their day. Doesn't matter what they're doing or where they're doing. We don't care. We can't judge. It's not It's not one of those type of jobs. We don't have that luxury. Politics, religion, none of that stuff kind of comes into play.
And you've got to be there for every situation, whether it be in and out of personal situations or scary situations or situations with lots of people.
Yeah, crowds get pretty interesting. Especially big crowds right now. What we have in the political realm is constant protests. Those things are very hard to navigate. But, as I tell all the students that I've instructed in the past, is you have to learn to be comfortable in uncomfortable places.
Right.
And positions. We got to wear what our clients wear. We got to fit in. The landscape of executive protection has changed over the years. When I first started this, it was more of a let's be Secret Service. Everybody's got to wear a black suit. Let's sunglasses.
Look the part,
look the part, right? You can pick them out of a crowd anywhere.
Right.
Deterrent. Yeah, it's more of a deterrent and physical, right? But those guys are on point. I'm not going to say those guys are bad. I've worked with Secret Service. They're great at what they do. I mean, they have plenty of resources, government. But in the private sector, those are not things that we get.
Right.
So we tend to take a little more subtle approach. There's many terms for it in our industry: covert protection, Cove Pro, executive protection, low profile, high profile, whatever. It just depends on, what team you're working with and what's the verbiage that you use. But we tend to try to blend in, man. Like, I will be a board member. I will be an assistant. We try to lower the footprint so we don't draw attention.
Right.
If that makes sense.
To yourself or to your client?
Both.
Right.
Both. Yeah. Because the more attention we bring, right, then people start pulling out phones. Oh, who's this guy, right? They have a security guy walking around with sunglasses and looking tough. Then everybody pulls their phone. Who's that? Who's that? And they start looking it up, right? It draws attention. Instead, we can just go through the day like we're two friends walking down the street. We're shopping, whatever it is, man.
So it's a long jump from executive protection to coaching kids.
Oh, yeah. But still takes the same amount of patience, which is very transitional. You know, I had two kids. I got a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old, and they're pretty dang good at sports. They're good athletes. Baseball, they're really good at. I traveled a lot back about 5 years ago, so I didn't get to start coaching them. But you know what made it for me is just having the kids and having to spend time with them. But, you know, just like anything else, just like plants, you know, you need to add water to grow. You need time. You need sunlight, right?
Right.
So do kids. They need love. They need a little patience, and they need just a lot of reassurance that you're going to be there and you're there to have their back. It's a confidence thing.
Right. That's true. That's something I'm working on. You know, I mean, I've got some estranged and tough situations.
We
and
all
things
do,
like
man.
that. But that's the thing is, you know, you're fighting for that opportunity. You know what I mean? And you're just doing your part the best as you can. That's how it works.
You know, like in the executive protection industry, right? And I can relate this to youth sports because you're not, what's the word? It's not all about you.
Right.
Does that make sense? You know, I've been on vacations to Europe and St. Moritz and all these places. And, you know, it's cool, but you're living someone else's life, right?
Yeah.
So it's always thinking about the client first. So if you can take that into and help manage that within youth kids, is just know that they're the important part. It's just how like they feel, how they work, how they respond, how they communicate, right? But you also have clients that are wealthy billionaires. You have celebrities. You have politicians. Okay, you wouldn't think this, but their mentalities are all different, right? Mm-hmm. The guy with $200 billion in his world, he can do whatever he wants, right? You got politicians that are trying to, you know, not look like a certain person out in the world, but behind doors, like everybody's got their everybody's got
real life.
Everybody's got their biases, right? You know, it's the same thing with kids, man. You just got to figure out how to communicate with them, how to figure it out, and how the best way to approach them.
Yeah, and there was I had a previous guest, and that's what he said. He's like, you know, at one age, you're trying to figure out whether or not they're trying to figure out whether you like them.
Yeah.
And then they hit another age, and they're trying to figure out if they like you. And you're always just kind of figuring out where everything fits in there, and it's totally a trust thing.
Well, it's the same thing. I mean, the industry, like your clients got to trust you. They got to know that you're going to be there. You're on it. They shouldn't have to worry about things. And with kids, it's the same thing. You just got to build that trust. You got to establish it. You got to allow them to trust you, but you also got to ask questions, and you got to learn about them. I think what kind of, I don't know if I'm a good youth coach, but I do my best.
Back to the transition of getting into coaching and getting into this.
Mm-hmm.
You played baseball before. I mean, obviously, you had to have some sort of a base for what you do in order to coach these kids the way that you do. How did the transition go from baseball to this?
Yeah, man. So, you know, I played baseball ever since I was 4. Just love the game. You know, played through high school. You know, coaching back then, you know, it's not about how the coaches, they did their best. They tried to teach us the way they learned, right? And a lot of this game has evolved. And, you know, when I went to college, I played at a small JUCO school. I landed up meeting one of my good friends, and I'll give him a shout out, Nate Headley, and Will Marshall, Eugene Bleeker, all the guys at 108 Performance. You know, I connected with them about 6 years ago, because when I became in executive protection, you know, I went to school for criminology, got my master's, and I was gone 250 days a year. I didn't have the time for that. But when the wife wanted to get married and have kids, like, you know, I wanted to help out and be there for my kids, right? So, you know, I reached out to my buddy and all the guys at 108, and they're doing great things. They're definitely the top training academy in the country. They've trained guys like Paul Skeens and, all these big players. They, Bryce Rayner this last year. I don't know if I dropped those names, but either way, those are all pro guys, and they work with those guys. They teach them how their body works and body movement, and they help me transition into that and find that love of the game. I will say that, I went to their facility and took my kids when they were like 6 and 4, and we've been going there ever since, and love it so much, man. Those guys are just amazing people and human beings. It's God, family, and baseball, man, and that's kind of where it's at. So
Awesome.
that transition was that, and I will give it to them. They made me look at this game in a different way.
Other than playing it?
Yeah, because when you're playing it, like back in the day when I played, it was coaches yelling at you, why aren't you doing this? And, it's
I remember.
It's hard, right? The game has evolved, and it's not that the kids have gotten softer. It's the fact that I think we as adults tend to communicate with them like they're adults. And it's very hard because every kid I have on my team now, I coach a 10U team, and, we won state last year. And hopefully this year we're at it again. But I have 11 kids, and none of them swing the same. None of them pitch the same.
And it's hard. You can't just train them all in a pocket. And
you have to study them. And, I think my transition from executive protection and being an observer and, in the world of watching people's hands, are they a threat? Things like that. Transition over to the kids because I really learned body movements and body language. I've done body language classes on how to read people, how to know if they're lying or telling the truth, or discomfort, comfort. It all goes in a couple categories, and then you have to cluster those together and figure out what's wrong. And
what they say is that communication is 70%.
Oh, it's everything for
physical
me.
Or something like that.
Yeah, no, but it's just communicating with kids. You got to figure out how
you adjust to them, as opposed to we used to have to. Whatever the adult or the coach in the room, we had to adjust to them. Exactly. Period. It wasn't optional.
No.
Parenting was the same way. It was like this, my way or the highway, in every kind of a way. And I was listening to something online, or I looked at something, and it had to do with how to deal with your kids when it comes to approaching social media.
Yep.
And there was a time when you'd be like, hey, I'm just going to look at your stuff. Tell me what you're looking at, what's going on, blah, blah, blah. But it was more like a sharing approach. It's like nowadays what you would do, what would probably work better would be like, hey, what are you looking at? How's it like, what's interesting you? Is this, and that? And ask them about this. And I was thinking to take it a step further, what if you showed them what you did? Like, hey, this is my Facebook. Yeah. This is the stuff I look at. Like, because when you get the trust or the kind of, it's always easier to come along. Like, it was always easier for me to come along with an adult that treated me like,
well, that's the thing,
person.
Right? Like, even with kids, like when I coach them, I'll get down on a knee and get to their level. Like you want them to feel like equals, because they are, man. They're kids. They're just learning. They want to make you happy. Yeah, that is the part about youth kids, man. I was that kid once too, and I remember getting smacked by my dad, like, "Be quiet, don't."
And our ego gets in the way because we get this thing when we're adults, and even when talking to other people, it's amazing what people can be haughty over. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it could be a job at Midas or whatever it is. Like, a human being finds every reason to kind of lord over another person, and we do it to kids, and it's unfortunate. And when you get on their level, you see an appreciation in them. It's like, anytime that you recognize somebody that doesn't get recognized on a regular basis, you see a light in their eyes. It's like different. You know what I'm saying? And kids have that thing.
That's what got me loving youth sports, man. When you see it click and a kid's eyes just, Coach, did you just see that? And it's like, yes, I did. Yes, I high five this bump. Let's go, bro. Let's do it again. You know what I mean? And then gets him excited and wants to be there. I think there's a real bad epidemic in youth sports where we got that old school style of coaching and not too much of the new school stuff, right? And those old school style of coaches, they're kind of getting to those age where they're starting to phase out, but still, like, it's the constant getting on them and stuff, right? Kids are not, trust me, they're trying to do what you do, but in their brain, like, it's not as developed as ours. They don't know, if I tell them to, hey, step towards the pitcher, and they're stepping off to the left, they think they are because that's the way their body's moving. But in reality, their ligaments, their tendons, their muscles, just not connected yet. And they don't know how to use their body. It's something they're learning, right?
Yeah.
So we got to be patient with it.
And I think you and I started this conversation a little about 4D movement. I don't know about if that was you or somebody else, but in martial arts, there's a concept that my instructor talks about called 4D movement, and it's basically natural movement. Like if you were doing a lunge, you do lunges really robotic when you're working out. But when are you going to ever do a lunge in that robotic way?
Right.
But if you did your lunges, for instance, like you were bending over and picking something up, or going into a roll,
right,
like you were falling, or in pitching, if you were reaching down, say as if you were finishing a pitch or something like that, and you were using it as a more natural movement, and you trained in that natural movement.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? That kid with the awkward body style is going to know his body, not necessarily a linear thing, but he'll know his body better. And
that's why, I mean, martial arts is a great example because, you're really trying to learn how to move, hip movement, like depending on what you do, jiu-jitsu, I did Krav Maga for a very long time. And that is, being relaxed and creating power, building power and delivering it, right? I know you as well as you do, like everybody knows Bruce Lee, man. Us older guys know that. I ask kids these days and they're like, who? I'm like, all right, I'm a little past my time. But, Bruce Lee back in the day, it's just connecting power, right?
Right.
How does he build that all and get his muscles to connect and then send it, right? And it's that 1-inch punch. And these kids are learning this, right? When you see a baby horse or a colt get born, they come out, right? And then they start trying to walk right away. We're the only mammal that can't come out of the womb walking. It takes 2 years, right? And we get to walk. But horses, cows, they all come out and they start walking. But you see their arms or their legs are a little unsteady, but they're learning, right? As kids learn, they watch other people do it, but their body naturally creates movement that can protect itself from falling. So when you go up the stairs, your foot is pulling energy from there to your calf, all the way to your knee, up and pushing up.
Right.
Your body learns to do that stuff. So the more you train it, whether it's martial arts or baseball, you learn how to, control the weight of a bat, control the weight of a baseball. I think it's a really bad thing these days, especially in youth sports, is, you get a lot of baseball facilities or anything that want you to throw heavy balls because they think it's going to make you stronger. In actuality, if you think about it, like it's going to drop their arm a little more. They're going to throw from a position because it's too heavy, and then they're trying to throw with their arm when they should be using the majority of their body.
Right.
To kind of use that, right?
Physics of it all.
Well, the physics of a body is
strength.
Physics of a body, man. If I can use every single muscle in my body at once, I can lift 2,000 pounds.
Yeah.
That's
the concept of everything. The concept, right? That's the concept in yoga when they're telling you is that you use everything in order to make that toe stand. You're still flexing every part of your body in order to accomplish it. But we always forget because we're like, oh no, I just
But you try to put everything in that toe, but you're like. Yeah, but if I'm off balance, maybe my midsection is the one that's not connected, right? And a lot of it is a weak core with a lot of kids and a lot of youth. But, I mean, America's got an epidemic of kids that are not as healthy as they should be. It's something that, I think we can get better at. But that also, starts at home.
It does, and we definitely represent Play 60. Find an excuse to get outside, do something. It's always good.
Well, listen, dude, I am guilty of that too. My kids got phones, and I get it. It is the way of the world, but I think about it in a couple senses. Like I had a really good friend in high school, which I'm one of my best friends today too. But he was a computer guy, and he played baseball with me, and he was a good baseball player too. But I would go over his house, when we were like 13, and he'd be building a computer. But he became a really good programmer, did really well for himself. Like, you know what I mean? Technology is a thing that we can't be scared of. And even in baseball now, they use a lot of technology. We try to get velocity, exit velocity. What's the spin rate on a baseball? How much pressure are you putting into the ground? Like, it's getting really creative. So these kids actually have access to all this stuff. And when I talk about, my kids got phones, I watch baseball videos all the time. Right. I watch tennis. I watch golf. Anything that's sports that's related that can help me get my kids better. But my kids will sit there and watch baseball videos for days.
Is it an advantage to them, or does it seem overwhelming? Like, do they get too much and then they put a lot of expectation on themselves? Like, hey, I saw this thing and I saw these 12 different ways that I can improve my game. Or is it like, are they in that suction cup phase of life where they just eat it all up?
That's a good question, because I love it that they come to me with 12 different things and say, Coach, I saw the way Ichiro hits. I saw the way Aaron Judge hits. I see the way Mike Trout hits. All of them. I'm like, okay, let's try it.
Right.
Why not? You know, some coaches get so caught up in, oh, no, you got to do the X, Y, Z. It's A, B, C. Like I said, everybody moves different. These kids are going to learn how to protect themselves and create the most power they can through their body. You know, tall guys are lengthy and, you know, mostly aerial type body styles with center of gravity that are different than a terrestrial, you know, more on their heels, and a little short and stockier. They like to push a lot more into the ground instead of fall into the ground, right? To pull power out. It's just a difference of, you know, what you're doing. But dude, give me 12 hitters. I'll tell my kids to do all of them.
Do them all.
Like, I do them all.
One of them will make sense.
Until I can
and then
figure
you'll find your own.
Yeah, exactly. That's man.
That's like,
Let's think of this holistically.
yeah.
Did Ted Williams or Willie Mays, Mickey Mantle have a hitting coach? Babe Ruth?
Everybody probably did, I would imagine. No,
Like
they
back
were
in
just
those days, bro, they just picked up a bat and started swinging as hard as they could. Like, look at those old bats, man. Like, hitting coaches weren't a thing until those guys got, oh, these guys are really good. And then we hired these guys, right? In the 70s and the 80s. And it's all good, you know what I mean? But no one was out there teaching Roberto Clemente how to hit bottle caps with sticks. He was just doing it.
True.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So a lot of this is self-taught, and a lot of it is how they feel and how they can do the best and hit the ball the best. And that's it.
Do you do hitting and pitching? I don't know if I was correct about that.
Yeah, I do hitting, pitching, fielding, and then I head coach a 10U team. And like I said, we're a pretty good we're a good travel team. We travel nationally. We do national tournaments. And
Dope. Shout out to the kids.
Oh yeah, shout out to my kids, man. Those kids are the best kids. Honestly, I think of them as my own, man. Like, my kid is on that team, but you know, we have sleepovers at the house. It's like back when it used to be, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let kids be kids. Let them enjoy it, because one day this could be a job. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And if they're not going to have fun until they get there, and even when it's a job, it should be fun, you know?
Yeah.
Joe DiMaggio had this quote where he says, it's no longer fun if it's no longer a game.
And
So keep it in perspective, man. These are just big kids playing baseball, dude.
And
they
the
get
ones
paid
that
for it, right?
that it succeed, like the really special players, even in the league, are the ones that treat it like a kiddish.
Yeah, dude. And they're happy to be there. You
Like,
got
you know
guys
what I mean? It's like, it's nothing. Like, I watched the Olympics, and is it Emily Lou, the young lady from America, won
For the hockey team?
No, she's figure skating.
Oh, okay.
But she like quit for 2 years, retired, because you do that at 18 in figure skating. And she came back at 20 as an old lady, a hag, of course.
In gymnastics, she's really old.
But she came back with this screw it attitude, and she's just up there and she's been giggling and smiling, and everybody's out there all like stiff, and she's just like, "Hey girl, what's up? Let's do it. I'm skating. This is," and she won the gold medal. And even on her last skate, you could just see it. She was just out there just flying around like everything was cool. It was seriously
Go to any sport. You know, basketball, football, figure skating.
Curry.
But as long as they're in a good mood and they're like happy and loose and flowing, and you know what I mean? Like, if you're tense and you don't move correctly, you don't move fast, you know? And if you have fun with it, like, that's the enjoyment of it. Like, just being at the Olympics is, let's smile. This is awesome, right?
Right.
And she's probably like, whatever, I'm 20. Let's just get it done. Let's add that gold medal.
You know, it'd be funny if I fell.
Yeah. Nobody takes it like that, though, man. Like, I think that's kind of what makes me a decent youth coach. You know, I'm a big kid at heart. I think, you know, it just makes it easy for me, man. I'll mess around with my kids. We'll talk crap. Like, it's just one of those things.
Yeah.
So
I like to say I'm the most childish person that I know.
And that's okay.
And the funny thing is, this wasn't an intentional segue, but speaking of games,
All right.
this is the part of the show we call free time, where professionalism loosens up a little bit. You get 3 options.
Oh.
One, off the top, a poem or rap based on an AI generated topic. I think it might be in that paper somewhere. Two, on the spot, an improvised skit based on also an AI. I've been trying to incorporate AI in my life because I'm trying not to be afraid of it like you talked about, but I'm pretty much terrified. Anyway, okay. And that would be a scenario based on AI. And third, we've got rapid fire questions. I bet yours are on baseball or probably secret agent man stuff. I'm not sure.
Well, you know, I'm not exactly Nathaniel Hawthorne, so poem is out, and I definitely don't rap like Eminem or Pitbull. I guess I should say that since I'm Spanish.
Much respect on the references. The Nathaniel Hawthorne to Eminem to like, hey, I personally said that the Super Bowl, you would have got zero complaint if you'd have just threw Pitbull up there.
You know?
And hey, I was like, why isn't it Pitbull? Bad Bunny, cool, whatever, but why ain't it Pitbull though?
Right.
Like, why is it not Pitbull? I don't understand.
He even wore a vest in that thing.
I promise you. He
did underneath his.
He would.
Yeah.
He
was
did.
scared. Yeah, he was scared. He wore a bulletproof vest.
Is it just me or for like 2 weeks leading up to that, he looked extremely wide?
Yeah, that's why.
That's why?
Yeah, he kept it on. He was scared. I don't know why.
That's insane.
Yeah, he got a lot of feedback back on that. But
Sure.
yeah, and then improvised skit. What are you talking about? Like acting?
I don't know. It's probably in here.
I
Yeah,
don't
you
do
can
much
kind of
acting.
you can make up a skit, and then we've also always got the rapid fire questions.
Well, let's go rapid fire. Let's see where my head's at.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for some profanities to come out of my mouth. So.
All right. Well, wish us luck on the profanities. That'll be the next game to see who comes up with more. All right, folks, we're back for your futuristic free time segment with Nate Romero. We're just going to jump right to it and find out, Nate, what's the most overrated tough guy trait?
Oh, these days, tattoos, man.
Yeah.
Everybody's got. You know, especially like in my industry, they're coming more and more now, right? Clients are. They deal with it because a lot of guys are military and stuff, so they come out sleeved up, and it's one of those things. But
Yeah. Facts.
doesn't mean anything anymore.
You used to be like, man, that guy definitely fit in the joint. You're like, oh, that guy right there works at Brooks Brothers. I'm sure of it.
That's exactly right.
One thing protection taught you about parenting.
Oh shit! Patience.
Patience. It's universal. One thing baseball teaches that protection never could.
Love.
Mm.
It's interesting, right?
That is
That is
interesting.
the first thing that came to my head. I think the reasoning is youth sports, like protection is something like, a lot of guys love to do, but it's also one of those things that, people get put into, and you don't love every situation. Like, right? It
Or your
doesn't teach
client, you don't
that.
necessarily,
Yeah,
you
I
want to
mean,
protect them, but it's not, it's
you're getting
different.
paid to do a job.
It's a job,
right?
yeah.
Like with youth sports right now, I volunteer and I do lessons on the side for money and things like that, right? But it's just love. Like I would spend
For the sport,
12
for the
hours
kids,
a
whatever,
day
yeah.
at the facility with my kids. Any kid. I don't care. Bring them all.
Harder, proud, clients or parents?
I'll say, well, in the past, some parents.
Yeah, you can pass if you
In the past, some parents. But clients are a lot harder. They're unique, and they want what they want, and they get what they get. Yeah, well, they don't get what they get. They want what they want, and they will get what they want, right? So, dealing with them is hard. You have to make a lot of, foundational choices, and sometimes it messes with your morals and your principles, man. I'll be honest. Parents, I can deal with them. I'm a pretty calm guy.
You guys have a common, I guess, place to pull from as a parent yourself. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
So,
It's
I mean,
like-
I understand that, dude. I understand and talk with parents and flow. Like, I have a good group of parents, and honestly, they love me. They trust me. I'm thankful, very thankful for it. My parents are amazing. They help out this team more than anything. And all the
Still.
other parents I know too, man, they got we have the same goals, like how to help their kid and how to make the kid happy, man. It's 1-2% of these kids may go pro, 10% may play college ball. But the matter of fact is, the thing I hate is in youth sports, coaches get too hard, or the kid has a bad experience and, they quit by the time they're 12 or 13. And that's not something that's fun for anybody, but it also teaches them bad habits too. So I try to do my best to avoid all that. And, we've had to move away from some kids and it's tough. But I have always have their best interest at heart. I want them to put them in the best position because I still want them to play. I just, at some point, like, kids have to understand, and it's something that you have to get with your parents with and understand that, maybe your kid's just not at that point yet. Yeah. You know what I mean? But it takes growth. Yeah. A lot of kids hit puberty early. A lot of kids don't, man.
And it might be something else that they play or do, or
they have other sports. Their family, maybe they don't have enough money. We have a family. I love them to death. They're amazing, and they're gonna move to Tennessee with us, and they love me as a coach and I love them as a family. They are family. And my whole baseball team's my family, man. I do anything for them. Whatever I can, however I can help, man. Like I said, my dreams, I tell my kids this all the time, my dreams were over a long time ago.
now you're just there for somebody else.
Yeah, it's to invest in them and their dreams, man. Like, our kids are our future. They always will be. You know what I mean? So
I had a conversation with my pastor the other day, and I was telling him, because I said I've recently took up a youth leadership thing at church, which
good
is
for you, man.
It's cool, and it's a different challenge, and that's why I'm really picking your brain, and I'm interested in this because I've got kids, and like I said, our situations are different and everything, but that's kind of what it is. It's like when you deal with kids, it's always a symbiotic learning relationship. You know what I mean? It's like as much as I can offer them and pour into them, like you said, you get that opportunity to pour it. You've got to pour it out. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I bet my 14-year-old's probably a lot like that. You know what I mean? Maybe this is a question he would ask or she would ask, or
they're all going
an
to go through the
anxiety
same
that
things
they would have.
life.
And you're kind of just prepping each other for.
I think even as mentors, we have to understand that these kids are empty glasses right now. So what we pour in, it's not about how much we pour in. I think it's more about the content and the intent that we have to pour into them, right? Kids are trustworthy. They trust you. They love you. They want to make you happy, man. I mean, honestly, but you gotta give them correct direction. And I think sometimes maybe they get it at home. Sometimes they don't. But you also have to build that trust to learn that communication from them. So you and your stuff at your church, you're gonna have to understand that kids come from different backgrounds, man. There's going to be kids that, maybe not have the best home at life, but how can you help to be a mentor and make their life better? Yeah. Because they're going to remember that back in the day. My buddy's been coaching for a very long time, my buddy out in Tennessee, and man, he's been in I don't even know, 18 weddings from his kids. I'm 27 or something,
Oh, they all call him, they're like,
because I need you to come be but that's what kind of impression he had on their lives.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I kind of took that as like, damn, that's amazing. Like, I want to do that. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be able to be in these kids' lives so long that when they graduate high school, they're going to be like, here's your invitation, coach. I just graduated. Hell yeah. Let's go celebrate that shit.
I get the feeling.
Coach, I got a scholarship to play in college.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Right. Let's go. Right. Like, that's the dream, man. That's where I go with it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's my motivation.
And you said it's a lot of what you pour into them, you know what I mean? And that's it. Like, back to the last question.
Yeah.
If you had two choices between, I guess, traits, this could apply in sports or in protection or life. Being calm or knowledgeable?
That's a good question. Calm and control are a little similar.
They seem similar.
But I mean, knowledge is good, man, but
like if you go into a situation, you figure every move, but then there's also that person that can just function under pressure.
Yeah, and so I guess whether it's my industry or youth sports, it's calm. Knowledge is something I think you can go out and get. Calm is something that you have to work at, if that makes sense. Control is great too, but you can't control every situation. In some situations, I feel control is an illusion of
Bruce
some
would
sort,
say,
right?
be like water.
Yeah, you gotta be able to adapt, right, and move. So I think if you can be calm, whether it's under pressure on a baseball field, like it teaches you a lot more because you're actually creating the avenue for you to take in the knowledge and the situation, and then you can think about it, adapt, and control it. So I think that kind of goes hand in hand with calm and control. That's just me.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Now, when it comes to these traits, we'll get back to your client base.
Okay.
So every profession has its version of great clients. Let's call them learning experiences without naming names. What separates the best people you've protected from the worst or easiest and most challenging, if we want to be
that's
a little
good
more.
question. When I started out my career, I worked with some hip hop artists and things like that and celebrities. I feel that, they make money and they're great, but there's also, I have a feeling of a background, right? Because we go with some hip hop artists and, their boys would be talking trash, throwing gang signs, those are kind of things, right? But that's stuff that's ingrained and it's not exactly their fault. However,
It puts you in an awkward situation.
Yeah, as protectors, it puts us in awkward situations where we have to mitigate risks and do things different, right? But
when I decide to be there, it's a choice, and I know what I'm getting into, and nobody's paying me to be there. I'm just hanging out. But you, and on the other hand, are there in a different capacity,
right? And that trouble usually kicks back to us, which kind of horrible. It's kind of horrible, right? I stopped doing that kind of stuff a long time ago. I will say what separates that better clients are a lot more corporate clients.
Yeah.
Just because corporations, they pay big money for us to come in and, protect their asset. Okay. Your CEO is an asset of a company. So with the CEO, for instance, we can drive 2 hours in New York traffic or whatever, going to the office, right? From upstate New York to whatever, right?
Right.
But in those 2 hours, they could make the company millions of dollars, right? So
on their cell phone.
They pay us and we drive and they sit in the back on their laptop and they work.
Right.
Okay, their function is to work.
So they don't need to be swiveling or worrying about what's going on.
It makes it easy. They don't want to draw attention because here's the difference between those clients that are millionaires and the ones that are billionaires. Millionaires like to flaunt their security and have it out like, hey, look at me. I got new money. Billionaires, old money, that kind of thing. They know that
discretion is the
discretion is key. Yeah, you have to have discretion because if you don't, like everybody knows who you are and they want a piece of you, and it's hard, right? So I prefer good clients would be more corporate, and that's just because for one, man, I'm old already, so running and gunning is not a thing for me anymore. I mean, it's not that I can't do it. It's just, you have kids, it changes your perspective on things. You want to be home. And it's not just about being home, but it's also, finding the right clients that treat you well too. Corporations and things like that, they know how to act because, they're in business world. They have to be nice. They have to be cordial, right? Sometimes you can be their little dog that they kick because they had a bad day, but those are things you take with, right? But it's also not at 4 a.m, hey, come get these bitches out of my room. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the hard.
I'd rather make you an espresso than kick a bunch of hookers out of your.
That's kind of the difference, right? So that's what I would say the differentials are.
I guess that next question can get squashed because it says, does ego complicate safety? Obviously.
Ego does complicate safety. Egotistical clients are, kind of some of the hardest to deal with. And the reason, those are too, is because a lot of them think, they don't need the protection. They don't want it, or they know what they're doing is fine. I've worked for some clients and programs, and after a year, 6 months, they're like, we think we're good.
Right.
You know what I mean? But what they don't understand is having us in place and doing those things. We do so much in the background and they don't need to know about it.
I think I asked you how long is an average, I don't know if it'd be a job, a deployment, situation? Or?
Depends. You know, I've been embedded with clients for as long as 5 years.
No kidding. Can you carry multiple clients at that point, or are you absolutely?
So when I owned a
dedicated to that
company,
one person?
when I owned a company, my first company here, I basically did a lot of contract work. So that's how I spread my time between multiple clients, met a bunch of people, networked, you know, picked up jobs here and there in Colorado. And then, you know, you do a good job. And the next thing you know, they're saying, hey, can you come out to Tahoe or California, New York, right? Cool. Yeah, I can. And that's kind of how I got my start doing it. And then, you know, recently I had another company which I sold, and that company, you know, we had steady clients, and it was, you know, we had them for 4 or 5 years and just going. But it's really hard in the protection industry too, because one little mess up can really put you in a bad light with the client, and you can lose trust real easily. So it's kind of hard when you're in this industry, because, you know, we have a differential, like different types of security, right? There'll be a residential security team. So those people that protect the home. Then you have travel agents that are travel around the world with everywhere you go, or family or whatever, right? So you got to learn how to adapt. Like if you don't have kids and you're a protector and you're driving the kids all the time and going to school, like you have to learn how to deal with kids, right? So there's a lot of that. But what most protectors in this industry don't understand, and I had to learn this too, is, you know, everybody wants to be the cool guy and be by the client, right? Right. Well, here's the problem with that. If you don't have that experience and you can't do that, you're underneath a microscope all the time, because you're around them the most. They see everything you do.
So your mistakes are hyper.
They're hyper focused on your mistakes, and you make one bad mistake that they don't like, and you're gone. You know, I've heard of some clients firing guys because of bad haircuts. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so, and a lot of it is a fit, right? Like, you know, most CEOs, this is a fact. Most CEOs are 6'2" or taller. And it's I don't know why the height thing is 6'2", 6'3", right? So if you're not a protector that's 6'2", 6'3", like, no offense,
it doesn't.
But it may not fit, just depending on it, right? Because it's got to be something that looks like it belongs. Does that make sense?
Interesting. What if it's a smaller person, or like a woman or a little person? Do they make them big intentionally, or would it be somebody, or would they maybe size you to be in like an entourage looking type?
Yeah. So they'll, you know, we'll do it by height, by look, by heritage, right? Whatever nationality. Like, you know, we do it because it's got to blend. Yeah. Right? But one thing that's very sought after is female agents. And, you know, there's a lot of schools out there.
Ladies.
Yeah, ladies. Like, seriously, you want to do security, you make money. Trust me. Good agents are hard to find. Especially, you know, a lot of these bodyguard schools will put them out, but then, you know, a lot of these companies will come out and hire them and say, oh, she's a protector. She's been to one course for 9 days. Right. She knows what she's doing. Yeah. And then they land up failing because they don't have a lot of the tools. But
even a lot of them probably get out, even guys, gals, whatever it is. You figure, what's the attrition rate after people get into the business, or
like falling out?
Yeah. Like people that decide, oh, this isn't really for me, or they're really not good at it, or when you start, is it probably more vetted? Like they're like, oh no, this guy kind of has the stuff. He seems.
Yeah. So a lot of companies now, I mean, we will get down to it. When I hired people, my company, I look for other things, because unfortunately military and law enforcement officers will, you know, they get pretty set in their ways, unfortunately. You know,
nature of the beast, I would imagine.
Yeah, but I mean, we look for communication skills, because, you know, you're sitting in a car with CEOs that have master's degrees from Harvard and Princeton and things like that, right? You have to be able to communicate. Right. You got to be able to carry a conversation. You got to know when to shut up. And all that takes is, you know, emotional intelligence. Right. And that's a huge thing. Like, you need it. But
which is not coming very easily these days.
No, not very easily, right? But you get these young guys.
It's challenging.
Get young guys and no offense against these guys. Like, seriously, like the military guys, I love them. But, you know, some of them get really gung-ho and think it's a transporter movie, right? And that's what they see in the movies. And they're like, this is what it is. But then it's like, that's what I sat on my butt for like 8 hours today, you know, just waiting for my client to get out of a meeting.
I was doing barrel rolls behind trees, tanking, all that stuff. I'm just saying,
it's
just
not,
so you know.
The driving stuff, don't get me wrong, I can definitely do what he does. But have I ever used it in real life? Getaway? No. Although I always told myself, if anything else, I'd be a really good getaway driver. So
Right? I mean, if this one doesn't work out, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. But back, speaking of the CEOs, the stereotype, because you mentioned 6'2" and up and different traits. There's the stereotype that highly successful people don't sleep. They move like robots and they're wired differently.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, that's why I wanted,
true.
because I know we had touched on that. From what you've seen up close, is that actually true?
Most high functioning individuals that I see as CEOs, maybe 4 to 6 hours a night, which makes it tough as for our job, right? Because
how much?
4 to 6 hours, maybe
Sleep
a night. Yeah, 4 to 6. Yeah. So I mean, which makes it difficult, right? Because if you put them to bed at 2 o'clock in the morning, then they want to be up at 6. Right. So, but the hard part is you're going to bed at 2:33,
and like you said, you adjust
because you're winding down. Yeah. But then you got to be up at 5 because you have to be up an hour before them because you have to have things ready and set. And if they have a meeting, like as the car said, do I have their coffee? Do I have their breakfast? Things like that, man. Right. And I know getting coffee and breakfast and things like that is, oh my God, that's what you do in security, right? But think of it this way. Think of it holistically. We take a lot of that risk out of their life by going to do that. They don't get exposure at the coffee shop. They don't get exposure.
How many walks, how many windows, how many doors have been avoided.
And we go get that early. We know where they're at. We have them set. We have them pinned up, right? But even if someone gets their schedule, there's things that we do to mitigate that risk. Like, it's just, you got to think about it. You got to embed yourself into their life and their ecosystem. That way we can learn to take some of that risk off the table, and it lowers their threat profile. If that makes sense.
Yep, absolutely.
Because even walking down the street, you get hit by a bus, man.
That's it.
Go get your dry cleaning. Well, shit, sir, I can go get it for you.
I can go get it
there ain't nothing wrong with that.
There you go.
A lot of protectors these days get so we talked about ego earlier, but they get so egotistical. It's like, I don't do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if you just kind of allow yourself to understand where that is coming from, like you'll understand that you're saving your client from additional risks, and you're also starting to learn patterns and habits that they have and they need, right? I've had clients before where they have a bad meeting or something, get them a double chocolate shake, and their day's going to go good. So you run out
and your day goes good in
and
turn.
My day is better too, right? That's exactly right. So if they're happy in the morning, they get their coffee, fantastic. Yeah. They're already started their day off great, and you're the one that did it. Yeah. Kudos.
And there's a little piece of humble.
Yeah.
And they're like, I own a cleaning company.
Yeah.
I went from everything else to an electrician to cleaning toilets for a living. And I always used to make the joke. There was a fella next door to me that owned his house, did this and that, and I was like, I'm going to do that one day. Because he just seemed like he had it together. Yeah. You know what I mean? He left at night, cleaned up some buildings, and family seemed taken care of. His son was my homeboy. He'd get all pissed, be like, man, I got to go clean. I'd be like, this is great. I want my kid to complain about having to come clean for me at night.
Yeah. I mean, being humbled in life is very just, that is such a good thing, man. When I married my wife, and, I vowed to her that she would never have to clean a toilet. And I didn't. Like, I clean the toilets in the house. And now we got, some very nice ladies that come in, once a month and help clean. But
shout out to those ladies, too.
But, my wife is lovely, and you got to learn that, it's not about you. And at some point, it's about everybody else.
And you're serving somebody for that. Like, every time I'm sitting down there, I clean toilets for a living. But the thing is, I could be, there's a high likelihood that I'm going to find a pretty decent amount of wealth on the other end of this. You know what I mean? And so, and it keeps me, like, I go to work every day and I'm like, you know what? This doesn't suck at all.
How did the mob get started in garbage?
Right.
Now they're billion. Like, you know what I'm saying? They picked up trash, bro. Let's be smart.
The trash man. But they'll never not need the trash man.
There's a video on Shohei Ohtani on Disney, and I watched it. And they said when he was younger in baseball, he would clean toilets and do other things as jobs because he said it humbled him and had him grounded. So he appreciated baseball life and everything he's doing. And now, biggest superstar in the world, right? Like, guy can play ball.
Yeah,
but
guy can play ball.
You get a guy like that at 16. I tell my kids that, like, dude, he's in there cleaning toilets, but he did it for, discipline for one, and humility.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's a trait that a lot of we get away from, especially with our kids. because it's okay to fail. It's okay to make mistakes, man. Every day after school, I ask my kids, what's one mistake you made today, and what'd you learn? It's a good thing just to ask, man, because then it lets them know that mistakes are okay.
Either one.
And how did I learn from it, right? Like, it's just those little things in life.
Those are the intangibles. That's what separates just that pure talent from something else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They know how to work, man. They know how to do it. And cleaning toilets isn't glamorous, man. But I tell you what, when you get that money, it's fucking glamorous, isn't it?
That's it. You know what I mean? And that's it. Whether you become a pro baseball player or whatever it is, like, there's something about doing things the hard way.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or making your mistakes. You got to take your lumps.
Shit, my dad had me, if I wasn't playing baseball, bro, I was tearing off roofs and putting them on in the summer, man. Like, that's the way that goes.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, is there anything else you want to, pass on to the audience? Anybody you want to put out there?
I will say, from the protection side, if there are any protectors out there, much respect. Honestly, it's definitely a difficult job. In my 20 years, I will leave you with one piece of advice. Be adjustable. Learn to take things in stride. Be patient. It doesn't happen right away. It's not going to be an overnight thing. I worked $9 an hour jobs for 2-3 years, but that was my humility. And then I started working so much, it just builds. So put in the effort. That's all I'm saying. For all my youth players and youth baseball players out there, just keep grinding, man. This is not a game that's easy. It's hard. It's the hardest thing in the world to hit a baseball.
Oh, man.
The calculations, the reaction time. Give yourself time. Learn to enjoy it. And be easy on yourself. Not everything is a fail. And even if you do fail, smile at it, because it's not going to be the last time. So learn to just take it in and be a better human. That's it. That's what life's about, man. But on the shout out side, 10U, my team, hell yeah. My 9U team I mess with too. My 11U team, my 13-year-old I do. Now about ready to do 13U. I'm starting to take on a lot of kids, I got a lot of knowledge to give, but I'm also a very giving person. So for all the kids that I instruct and all the ones that I don't, you need something, call me. I'm always here. Coach Nate, my wife, I love you. Without you, life would not be happy.
Amen.
You are the hardest working woman and most beautiful human I've ever met. And thank you for giving me the 2 kids that I did. A shout out to my son, G and T-Rex, man. They are 2 little firecrackers, but they work hard and they bust their ass and they have to deal with me as a dad. So that's always hard, man. And to all the coaches that I coach with, you guys are amazing. Without you, this team couldn't run the way it does, and I couldn't learn because I don't know everything. I learn a lot from them. And hopefully they learn some stuff from me, but this is life. You're never going to stop learning. So when you say knowledge, it's never an end game, man. There's no end to knowledge.
No way.
Take it up, Just a quick thing. I like to call myself a Renaissance man, but I dabble in all kinds of things, man.
Yeah.
Youth baseball, shooting, martial arts, school. I got a master's in political science. Who does that? Why did I need it? Why did I need it? But as a glove
I'm glad you didn't say that earlier. We'd be here another hour.
Well, it was under political science. Let's put it that way. But I'm just saying, I thirst for that knowledge, and I want to know more. I don't know everything, but I love learning. That's I think that's what keeps life interesting. I don't want to go around every corner and know what's happening tomorrow.
Right. The journey is part of it. It's awesome to learn, and there's achievement in the process.
Yeah.
Big time.
I mean, journey in life is just, it's always fun, man. You don't know what you're getting. You don't know what you want the next day. Perfect example. One day I was an executive protection agent. Next one, man, you don't know where life leads. But, I got to thank my last thing. I got to thank my guys out in Tennessee, man. Those 108 performance guys are fantastic. Nate Headley, Will Marshall, Eugene, Jay, Brody, Casey, all of them. Adam, just a bunch of amazing guys, and honestly, my love for game and kids and baseball, it got reignited with those guys, and I just appreciate it, man. Trying to get my life right, and I'm trying to enjoy the time that I have with my kids and my family. So
whoever ignited that fire, I appreciate them too.
Yeah.
And speaking of learning, I know I heard a quote recently. I'll try to say it as best as I could. Learn as though you'll live forever. Live as if you'll die tomorrow.
Heck yeah.
And before we wrap up, a huge thanks to our sponsors, MJ's Collectibles. If you love vinyl records, memorabilia, and nostalgia done right, choose MJ's Collectibles. Also, Property Pals Cleaning Company, where you get more from your cleaning company. Don't forget, our next pop-up podcast is happening at Angelo's Music on April 18th. It's going to be Vinyl Day. They're offering great deals on excess inventory, and we'll be there recording the latest, talking music, and saying hello. So come hang out. As awesome as this conversation has been, the best part goes far beyond safety plans, country hopping, and covert badassery. You'd give it all up to coach preteens in life, faith, and baseball. That speaks volumes, man. And to everyone listening, if this episode resonates, share it with someone who believes in mentorship, purpose, and doing the work that really matters. As always, take it light, and it won't ever get too heavy.
Take it light. I love that.
Be peace, brethren.
Maybe you can understand this shit. Why drive a car? Cause it's foreign, that ain't my type of language. That chick's my wife, not some peasant that I just call my main bitch. Something I learned from ancestors of mine who came on slave ships. Master gon' suck you until you dry, then dump you in a ditch. The best defense is to stay spry and infiltrate the host. Then play offense once you're inside, that's how you do the most. Miseducation's a disease and must be treated so by the revolutionaries who make the conscience grow. It may have been a mistake to grab the mic again. I'm finally facing my demons and feeling right again. No lie, embracing the truth about who I really am. Let's never let mediocrity rule our